What's happening, everyone? Today, I've got Chris Odell of Odell Construction.
Absolutely.
And so you had a couple interesting projects going on. So let's, first I want to just see if you could give us an overview, a little bit of background about who you are and everything like that.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me on the show.
Of course.
Been building forever. Really enjoy the culture of building and seen it from all different aspects over the last 25, 30 years, from financing to real estate to just guerrilla building. I come from what I like to tell a lot of people, the 2x4 club. So if you did something wrong, look out for that 2x4. And but what it did was it gave me a work ethic, and it taught me the value of not just building but creating. And at the time, I didn't really understand that what we were creating was the culture of people. People were going to be born in third homes. They were going to live in these homes. They were going to leave these homes through generations, which, as we were talking a little bit about, I was, third and fourth generation San Franciscan. And so, being part of, our dynamic of building in this country, let alone California, really kind of etched my behavior in trying to be innovative. And so, little quick history, coming from a framing and really just nuts and bolts of building, I started finding my way into kind of a more supermodel version of construction, which we like to call electricians. Which is my favorite trade. Mm-hmm. And cause I love the puzzle. Mm-hmm. And, when you're working on those, 100-year-old homes, coming from the environment of knob and tube wiring and, fused to the Zinsco panels, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's like getting into the electrical business is different if you're doing new construction versus old construction.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a different world.
It's, polar opposite. Mm-hmm. And, but interesting because they're relevant in their disasters. Mm-hmm. And coming across, and I train a lot of new builders because I believe that, that's my job. My job is to pass on information. And it's going to help those future homeowners or, commercial owners. And understanding the difference of things being typical of the build, the age of the build. And I tell people all the time when they buy these 70-year-old homes, which is so normal now, especially in California, because, new construction with a lot of the boxes we have to check now, which, are important. Mm-hmm. Most codes have been written because of disasters, right? Things that they understood that they didn't know were a problem then. There was a time when they thought asbestos was great. And now you can't even touch it unless you have a special license.
Yeah. Why would they have asbestos in anything other than brake pads?
Because it didn't burn.
It
didn't burn.
Wow. That alone. Yeah.
And, among other properties that they thought, were the greatest things since sliced bread, and so, going forward, we found out that, but it takes 50 to 70 years of people dying from it in order to find out, wait, bad, go the other way.
Yeah.
And so, but if you don't understand those, dynamics of the change of the culture of building, right? And history is such a huge key. If you're going to learn to build, great. Anybody can put a piece of wood together, right? Mm-hmm. But if you can understand why, how, and where did it come from? And I tell a lot of guys, we still use the same building properties from like Rome, concrete, different things. We've just improved it, but we didn't, it was created long ago, and which means it stands the test of time. Yeah. And so, but one of the things about time is when you find out something doesn't work properly or is unhealthy or, creates a long-term health effect, to change it and not tear it down to build it back, is a whole different, we'll call it a market by itself. And, going back to electrical, now we're at the point where I get calls from people that will spend $12 to $20 million on a house because of where the dirt it's sitting on.
Yeah.
But it's 70 years old. And the insurance company will not insure it. In fact, they have 30 days to rewire that house or they will have no insurance.
30 days?
Absolutely.
For the entire house?
The entire
a
house.
$12 million
In fact, that
house?
just happened 6 months ago. I got a call from a client and they said, the insurance company gave us 30 days to rewire the house. Otherwise, there's no coverage on the property. Naturally, they have a loan. And the lender's like, well, if you don't have insurance, you don't have a loan either. So, and now I'm starting to kind of go back to some of these representing agents going, you better bone up.
Yeah.
Because, there's some, exposure there when you got to sit your client down and go, look, this house is 40 to 50 years old or greater. These are some of the things you're going to have to deal with. It's real now, especially after the Palisades and the Paradise and, Santa Rosa fires, right? In the last 10 years.
God.
Yeah. I mean, whole communities are gone.
And and people, so many people have nowhere to live now, which is another thing actually that you're getting into. So let's talk about that.
Sure.
So are they modular homes?
They are. We like to call it volumetric building.
Okay.
And it's neat because the word modular gets tied up with manufacturer homes or trailer homes.
Yeah,
and, it's such a bad word. And those are like the modulars of what I call them our parents or grandparents, right? And so
Like the double wide. Yeah.
Okay. Bad word in my industry.
Grandma's
right?
double wide.
Yeah. Or cinder block, all those things. But that's not what we do. We actually take the dynamic of modular, which is basically definition by offsite. That's the only difference. It's not different material. It's not cheaper material. It's actually more superior. It has fire ratings. I mean, these are all things I could talk for hours about on the benefits. Now, nothing's perfect. And the guy that tells you something's perfect, run. So, I mean, they have their limitations.
Yeah.
But one of the limitations are the stigma around, modular homes or manufactured homes. And financing was impossible because these things had trusses in them. They could be picked up and moved. So you can't blame a bank for going, well, I really don't want to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that might not be there next month. Right?
Has that been a thing? Like people will take out a loan and then they'll just move the house somewhere else?
Because it's possible, you got to assume it has.
Oh.
But you could absolutely move it. They have a steel truss down the middle of it. That's how they were actually transported.
Oh.
So if something could be transported to it, it could be transported away from it. Not in our building. Our building gets a fixed foundation. It's actually secured to the foundation. In fact, all our builds meet all the retrofit codes and all the seismic codes, which in California is something we have to deal with. You know? And the other thing is that my favorite part about it is because these modules are how these things are built. They're built in multiple boxes. They have to be transported. So they're extra strong, and transportation or logistics is extremely important to understanding, can this thing be built in modular? Because if you have a remote area, tiny roads, huge canopy trees, low power lines, these are all things. But these logistic companies see the value in modular building. It is the future of building. I'm going to tell you, 5 years from now, we're going to be probably 35 to 40%.
So like you buy like an IKEA house.
Nice. No, but yes. It's funny because IKEA was trying to figure it out. I guarantee it. And my favorite part about IKEA is it doesn't like to be moved either.
Yeah. Once it's built, that's it.
Yeah, it does
Permanent
not like being
resident.
taken apart. In our building practices, what we like to do is we like to now take it from a level of saying we need to build this based on it being transported. And we're saying we want to build it based on its environment now. Because see, now we're building it in a controlled environment. There's no weather. The material is not being calculated and delivered. It is bought in bulk. So therefore, the material is sitting there per build. And so you don't have any waste. you have controlled labor environment. So these are all guys and women that basically control lines. Okay. So if you take a page from Henry Ford's book, okay, the first thing he said was, let me find a way to do this safely, but in volume, right? And so he said, well, let me take people, and instead of having them build one car, they'll build a part of a car, and they'll know that job really well. And then from there, they kind of started creating the automation world and doing different things. It's the same for us. Now what we do is we take a factory, and in that factory, we have several different lines that do different phases. And I'll just give you one aspect. A framing line will have two guys on that line, and he'll be framing 10 foot or 9 foot by 35 foot wall. Okay, stick frame, right? Basic 2x4 wood, 2x6, whatever. But while the thing is being framed based on the engineered structural plans, they're also shooting the electrical holes. They're shooting the plumbing holes. So now you don't have a guy standing on a step ladder trying to drill straight up through a plate, and it's crooked and it's not going in right. And plus that guy was probably late. Yeah. Right. And so
hungover.
Right. Oh, didn't want to say it.
Yeah, I'll say it.
But we both know it's true.
It happens.
But, that's the other thing is we're leveling the playing field.
Yeah.
It's become highfalutin, and this is translating into our pockets.
Well, another thing you guys are doing is like it's a sense of a little bit of extra consistency.
It is.
Where like it's kind of the same where like if you paint a car, right? You want to paint it in the same environment. If you paint it in a different environment and try and like patch it up, it's going to look different.
Totally,
it's not going to be the same.
And so that's kind of duplicate time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Absolutely. And in that regard, weather related, it's not unusual to see a development. You got all these houses basically framed out, and now it's pouring rain. Well, that wood is an organic material. Yeah. Okay. Yes, trees live in the world, and they get wet, but they also have surrounding protection. Okay, milled wood is at its rawest form, and water is the enemy of everything, even though we need it to live. And so, what happens is that wood starts getting compromised. You already start the depreciation process within that organic material. It's a proven fact. But what are you going to do? You're going to tarp these things? No. So it's something we just end up living with, right? In our factory environments, the same house is being framed with the same exact wood, but it will never be weather compromised.
Right.
Ever. It's a controlled environment. And so in that regard, we also don't lose lead times. Because now they have grading moratoriums, they have building moratoriums where they said, okay, look, if you can't get this thing started by October, right, in very heavy wet areas, especially on slopes and things, you're not building it till April. And then the April Club was born, if you're familiar with the April Club. And the April Club is one of the oldest construction phenomenons, because you got these guys who, build everything, and they all get together just around April, and they go, okay, where are those permits? Like, we're ready to go. Who's got what project, right? Well, with our environment, that doesn't exist. We're building all the way through October, all the way through April. We don't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because, again, controlled environment. And so my favorite part about that is it is a 9-to-5 job all the time.
Yeah. So you get people that are reliable, legit, good workers.
And they want to be there.
Yeah. They don't take a week and get all strung out on something.
No, there we go again. And it is run rampant in our environment, and the other thing is that the stress of, any union guy will tell you, I probably played more backgammon and spades than I actually built, right? Because where are you in the pecking order, right? And then you got weather, and then you got building booms, and then, going backwards from like, let's be honest, the stock market, these things, they create our environment, right? Bottom lines is why people build, right? But then you got people like us where we're like, yeah, we don't have that problem. So while you guys are over there having that problem, we're over here creating the right product.
What made you decide to do that?
Fun story.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
Fun story. So around 2010 when things really started getting crazy and, we had the Big Short happening, we had just the bottom falling out, which is something no one had ever, we'd had plenty of cycles in real estate, but nothing like this. And, cause it created millions of jobs and then took them away overnight.
Yeah.
And then and those were the people actually buying the houses too. And so you ended up with people going, okay, wait a minute. I went from a $400,000 income to unemployment, like overnight. So, we started looking for different things to do. I started looking for different things to do. So I kind of went into custom home building. I started kind of going into, okay, let me go back to my roots and saying, let me build privately instead of production. Let me get away from, because people started doing really weird things in really nice suits. You had guys going to jail.
Oh yeah.
Federal prison was full of mortgage bankers.
Yeah. I actually was in that business at the time. I was a loan assistant.
So,
yeah.
And everybody was.
That's, the weird thing back then, which makes sense now, is like 90% of our bad loans or whatever, they were Spanish speaking customers. Yes. And we had our two most popular loan officers were Spanish speaking loan officers. Because they build that trust.
Absolutely.
And
it's a huge underserved community.
Yeah.
And they made it possible, right? And then my favorite term, and you'll understand this, stated income, stated assets.
Yeah. That was fudged a lot.
What does that even mean? Right? How are you a janitor making $150,000? Really?
Yeah.
So, but when they bundled these things and guys came in and they said, I'll take that bundle and that bundle on mortgage-backed securities. They didn't care. This thing trickled all the way down to a person that there was no way after 2 years they were going to afford this loan.
Right. And they're thinking that the house is always going to appreciate. They're always going to get better wages.
Absolutely. And even from the building community, you get a person that says, okay, great. I just bought this house and my payment's only like $1,400 a month. And I bought it for like $800,000. And I'm like, please don't say it's an option arm.
Oh, wow.
Please don't tell me you have 4 choices of payments every month and you picked this, you were sold on the smallest one.
The option arms, that was, oh man. Yeah. Wow. That really brings it back. Those 2 words alone.
Yes. And that was the dynamic. That was the Band-Aid, if you remember. And how it translated into my world was, not only can we afford this house, but we could do whatever we want to it because we have this disposable income now. And I'm like, because we're going to get to write it off on our taxes. And I'm like, yeah, but deferment. I'm like, the loan's going to grow.
Yeah.
Anyways, we could spend a whole nother show on that. So, around that time when the bottom was dropping out and I kind of went into custom home building, even that was starting to struggle because what was happening was more people were trying to keep more of their money and develop the same outcome, which was weird.
Yeah.
But the problem was that some of my colleagues were trying to give it to them in the front end and then change ordering them to death, creating this new dynamic.
Right. Because after the words, you're like, oh, actually, there's this. Actually, there's this.
Oh, I didn't know. I don't have X-ray vision. These houses were built this way sometimes, And the thing is that if you've been doing this for years, more than even 5, you've seen every style of building that there is and building practices. And if you don't, then you should not be doing this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, work for a guy like me. And so, I started kind of creating this new approach. And I started going into family entertainment and family entertainment centers.
Like Dave and Buster's and Chuck E. Cheese?
So I actually met that guy. I actually
Dave or Buster?
Well, neither. That's a whole nother story, which is a really fun story. But this culture of people were the funnest people I'd ever met my whole entire life. And they had a lot of money. The Dave and Buster's was actually founded by a guy who was a pizza shop owner. And he kept seeing his people leave after they were ordering pizzas. So he went outside and he told me the story. He went outside and we see him go to this arcade, and then they come back and buy their pizza. So he went and talked to the guy and says, hey man, we should come together. But the arcade guy was like, yeah, I don't know anything about it. I don't, And so he went and found another guy And then Dave and Buster's was born.
Yeah.
And I mean, their Georgia location does like 120 grand a week.
What?
Oh, yeah. I mean, those are pretty much documented numbers. Like it's really ridiculous what they do. And they're recession proof.
Yeah.
And they're recession proof.
Yeah.
And we found that out during the COVID years because people, you know, what they actually found out was this was great because I can close and I don't lose anybody. And I can rebuild it. I can update. I can do all those things. So it actually really worked for them, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I wanted to get in this environment. The main reason was because I had moved to Woodland, California. And I'm from San Francisco in the Bay Area, in the peninsula. And these things are like on every corner, right? Family entertainment centers are small, but they're places where you could take your kid to run around for an hour and a half and they're going to sleep great tonight.
Yeah.
You can bring your iPad, your you know, whatever.
You can get a beer.
Right.
You know?
In some places.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can't really get one at Chuck E. Cheese.
No, you really
Maybe you
can't.
can. I don't know.
I think they finally found a way.
Yeah.
But and the consultant that I had hired because I knew nothing about family entertainment actually was part of the team that created Chuck E. Cheese, and so Dave Wallace for Turfway Entertainment, and so he kind of introduced me to the world of family entertainment. So I went to a convention. It's called IAPA, International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, right? And I'm like in the same clubs as Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
And so I went to Florida to their convention, and it was so cool. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
I bet.
But I came as a builder because I figured, okay, great. I can build it. I don't have to open the phone book and build this thing, right? And the guy I was working with at the time said, you got an edge, right? Because even if you do a second gen building, you could build this thing out for pennies and you could open up right away, where these other people are at the mercy of some guy who's got 94 projects and charging arm and a leg. I didn't have those problems. So it really kind of smoothed me right in there. And so anyways, fast forward, I am at a workshop in Indianapolis because I'm learning at a rapid pace on, creating, different authentic themes. Our theme is going to be called World of Fun. I was actually buying the County Fair Mall because it was a complete dead mall, right? It's an interior mall, completely dead. And in the 80s, in its heyday, it was spectacular.
Where's the County Fair Mall?
On Gibson and Woodland.
Oh, that's the one in Woodland.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that is dead.
Yes. So I was buying Gottschalks. I was buying the Anchor building. And it was a 50,000 square foot interior space that I was going to build out. I had the whole thing mapped. The city was a partner. They really wanted this. And originally I was looking into Thomas because when the Kings left, Thomas just died.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, let's bring something to bring it back. And then the city of Woodland said, no, you need to build it here. But I kind of wanted it in my backyard because I love my community. And and I had been a part of this culture in the Bay Area that my kids went to, and, we birthday parties and just like whatever. In fact, the birth of Rock and Jump, which is a huge trampoline park.
Yeah, we're having my daughter's birthday party there this year.
Well, they sold it, but that family is actually friends of friends.
Oh, really?
They were corporate America and got burned out. And they decided to start a trampoline park in San Carlos, California, in the peninsula. And they bought a warehouse and built out this huge trampoline park. And then, right?
Yeah.
And that's what gave me the idea of doing it here. So anyways, I'm at this big, huge workshop on how to create Pee-wee golf interior. And because we were called World of Fun, it was all going to be based on geography and different places in the world. Right. So
cool.
Pee-wee golf was going to be like Egypt and Cairo and the whole Raiders of the Lost Ark theme and, different stuff like that. And I met this guy whom was into modular building, and he was also going around the country and buying dead malls and creating event centers, all one-stop shops, theaters, family entertainment, restaurant, and just, kind of bringing back the concept of public interior, right?
Going out to do it. Yeah.
Right, going out to do it, but in one location, right? And so we just started talking, and he said, what do you know about volumetric building? And I said, I think you made that up. What even is that? Some weird math? Is that some weird math? Is that the new Common Core? And he said, no, he says modular. I'm like, oh, modular. You mean the things I see going down the highway that looks like half a barn?
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
Yeah.
And we started talking, and he found out I was a builder and he was a developer. And we kind of hit it off and started talking. And then, you know, he went his way, I went mine. And then Maui happened.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got the weirdest inclination to call him, because I have friends that are, you know, from the 49ers that either work for the team or, you know, like Guy McIntyre, Jesse Supullo. These guys own homes there.
Jesse, so funny story, because I used to work for him. Jesse used to give me $20 every morning to drive him in a golf cart from the stadium to the Great America to do like their little like alumni thing.
Sure.
And then drive him back. Every time I was like, you don't have to pay me. I'll take you anyway, you know, just for the conversation.
Yeah.
But
Well, and they got a statue built to him in Kihei, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like bringing their local boy back, right? And so when I started talking to some of, you know, my friends that are a part of that, you know, group, they were like, you know, we want you to go rebuild our houses in Maui. And they were heavily involved with like Maui Prep, which is a school that borders kids and takes them and grows them, you know, from, you know, early ages all the way up into high school and into college. And they were all sleeping on the beach. Yeah, it was horrible. And so they really wanted to take their platform and their efforts and give back to that community because they just love it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they had lost their own homes. And so we started talking, and I said, well, I think we should do this volumetric. And I called this particular guy and said, hey, what do you think? He's like, I was thinking it too, you know, and, you know, he's a super high thinker, right? And so he said, you know, let's get together and let me introduce you actually to the guy that introduced me to it. And that's actually Jason Carter, who's actually my partner today.
Oh, okay.
Him and I created Ironclad Construction.
Oh.
Which is an amazing company. And that's our pure volumetric building company.
Okay.
Those are the ones we have the projects going on right now. And so, and he actually owns what they call the Mod Squad team. Now, the best way I can put it, and you'll get this because you're hot rod. If you owned a auto garage and you got to, and Henry Ford was one of your mechanics, that's who Jason Carter is in the modular world.
Oh, geez.
He makes the factories and automates them that produces the product.
Like you have John Madden on your football team.
There it is, right? Absolutely. And you're going to win.
Yeah.
You're going to win. And so when I met with him, and he thought the Maui thing was great, and he's like, okay, let's put this together. And we created a really dynamic team and we met with the governor, the mayor, everybody that was anybody. We were on Zoom calls. And they were trying to figure out, and they like, we really like what you want to do because we can build 3,700 units in probably under 2 years. But it was even better than that. Jason had the great idea of building a factory on ground zero and hiring Mauians.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
But we needed 20 acres, which is, they don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
And it was tough to find.
Well, once they give it up, it's hard to get it back if anybody, you know, if it's even a temporary thing.
That was the thing. And was it temporary? Because I was like, well, once you do this and people see the value in it, they're going to want to do this on every island. And you're going to be in the driver's seat. Right. I mean, it checked a lot of boxes. The problem was there was a lot of dynamics of some of those properties had been owned for years and years and years. No one even knew where the lot lines were. And then you started having water, you know, because water's at a premium. People don't realize it's an island, but it's not drinkable.
Yeah.
You know, water
salt
everywhere, not a drop to drink. And so they really started kind of going through a lot of those issues. And so we were like, look, if you could bring a developer here, they're going to develop something they vision, not what your locals are used to. Secondly, they're going to have the issue of import. All those things are going to translate into cost. We'll go on and on about the issue, right? And Lahaina was kept the way it was for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want the resorts. They don't want, and I agree with them, you know, and it's still their piece of the island that was left.
Yeah, it's the magic of going there. Like the little tiny shops with, it's barely a shop. It's just a couple walls and maybe it's a carpet on the roof or so, you know, it's something like that.
Right. And
buying handmade stuff, you know?
As it should be.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because it's real. and it's part of heritage, and you're going back forever, right? Well, we kind of wanted to bring that same concept, but in a rapid pace. So when Jason and I started kind of doing that, and it kind of, we're like, okay, look, why don't you guys figure it out? Call us whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
You know? So that's when Jason and I kind of started realizing that, hey, he's like, you're a builder, and I'm the factory guy. We should create Dave and Buster's. So that's how, Ironclad was born. And so we started doing luxury homes because he did not want to. He's in Florida. And the other gentleman who's no longer part of our team, he was actually in Minnesota. And so we kind of started creating this environment of saying, well, we want to kind of paint the world in this, right? We wanted, and he had already been responsible for builds in Germany, Sweden. I mean, if you look him up, he's the #1 factory builder in the world, the most sought after. So I said, well, you got to come to California. And he's like, no, thanks. And I'm like, no, really. And he said, all these regulations and all these things. I'm
Can't blame him.
I said, but we can reinvent that. I said, the reason for it is because the wrong people are in the driver's seat. And the other thing is that people had found their niche within those regulations. People started creating these little subcultures of building and business in that environment. And they said, well, heck, regulations aren't so bad. You could charge more, and the guy that says no at the business table is going to win. The guy willing to walk away is always going to win because he's not desperate, right? And he knows he holds enough cards to go, well, you're going to come back now or later. I don't care, right? So we took that concept out. We said, nope, we're going to level the playing field. We're going to say, we're done with the job grabbing. We're done with the, you're eighth in line, and we don't even know if it's possible then, but give us your money now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a whole thing, right? And so we started saying, okay, look, let's go into the luxury home world. Because I'm a luxury home builder. That's what I do. And I know what people want. I know the markets because I've come from different aspects of building. Like I had said, real estate and financing. So kind of gives you a multifaceted approach to building. And so like I understand that no one's going to buy a home for $20 million with 10-foot walls. Well, they didn't understand that. And in the modular world, that's a big deal. Logistics. So now you have not only a compensating factor of quick building, but now you have the limitation of logistics. So here's a line we got to walk, right?
Yeah.
Well, now you graduate to steel then. So now you steel build, right? But guess what? Now we got a better fire rating. I mean, all these things just kept falling in line. So we'd have a problem, we'd solve the problem, and then end up with like 5 other great issues or great, solutions, right? So we started creating kind of luxury home concepts, and we created one on the peninsula that was the most amazing luxury home ever. And actually, the architect firm that we had design it kind of designed it both ways, stick built and modular. And so everybody was kind of coming into the luxury modular home, which is a really weird sentence. Okay.
Yeah.
It's almost an oxymoron, right? Luxury modular home concept. And so, because these things have to line up. And so you can have a great room. The problem is you got to connect those boxes in a way. And if you have a corner of a box landing in the middle of a space on the bottom floor, what's holding it up? So now you got to do LVLs or I-beams or different things like that, which now adds to the height and back to logistics again. So it's this interesting puzzle, right? On how to put this thing together. But what I found was even through all those dynamics, we were still looking at a 9 to 12 month build. That's a 5-year build in the stick world.
Yeah.
And so, and if you translate to holding cost, right? Or basically living somewhere else while your castle's being built, or if it's a spec build, you've bought this land, you're using leveraged money, right? The meter's rolling.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're stick building it, you're writing checks over the course of 4 years, right? Well, in a modular build, and here's one of the craziest concepts. you're literally going to buy the house before it's built. You're going to pay all of it, but 5%. And the reason for that is everything's on site in the factory. All the material for finish, appliance package, finish package, tile, everything. It's all installed in the factory. This thing is shipped to finished kitchen. It is shipped to finished bathroom. And for me, my building logic, I'm like, no way. I cannot wrap my head around this, right? So I went to a factory, my first time, to a factory called Plant Prefab. There in Arvin, California, which is the factory that we're using for the Palisades projects, and because they're super local. And so they said, yeah, come on down, and we're doing an affordable housing project in Hawthorne. And I'm like, okay, great. Affordable housing? And they're like, yeah, we're doing like a 6 or 7, I think it was a 100-door unit building. And they're like, come on, we have some built out modules getting ready to ship out. And so I went down there going, what is it? What am I going to see?
Yeah.
Right. And it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen in my whole entire life. I walked through an affordable housing unit that was nicer than most people's $1 million primary condos.
Oh, geez.
I mean, low voltage lighting, really, really nice trim, floating vanities. I mean, like stuff you just don't see in affordable housing. And it was getting ready to ship out. And I literally walked through a finished unit and I was sold.
Yeah.
In that moment, I was sold. And I also understood the concept of let's get back to the science of building. Let's get back to the performance of it, right? Not it being cute or nice or selling for a lot of money. The fact that it's going to stand the test of time and it's going to be nice throughout.
And functional, usable.
Extremely functional, right? Because people are taking their time and they're creating something that makes sense, right? And so when I went to this factory, they had like, I think it was like 22 modules wrapped and ready to be shipped out. And I was like, wow. And then they showed me a picture of the building, the rendering of the building. That this is what it's going to look like. And I was like, it was just so impressive. And so I knew from that point forward that my stick building years were coming to an end.
Yeah.
and rightly so, because the other thing is that chasing tradesmen around, and doing different things to create, just negative dynamics.
Right.
One thing after another. This guy's job grabbing over here. He's got 19 jobs. He's sending some apprentice to wire my 200 amp panel, and I'm like looking at him going, wait, what are you doing over there? I'm glad I showed up today. Right. And so, because as a general, you're a manager, that's what you are. I mean, I'm licensed for all trades and I can do every single trade. I can roll my hands up, which I like to, but I don't have time to, because I'm the manager, right? It's my job to make sure that these things hit all points on the Gantt chart, and all those things. But now all of a sudden you got a guy who's been doing this for like 5 weeks and he's doing a journeyman job. I had a plumber one time that was drilling through joists, huge, gigantic holes, which clearly doesn't understand the 40% rule. And he's got his extension cord sitting in puddles of water. And I'm like, dude, if you don't die, my house is going to fall down.
You're literally the example of what not to do.
You are the poster child of any safety class at OSHA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, now I'm scared to leave this job site, which, what that translates into? Every single one of my builds now getting less of my time.
Yeah.
Right? Because anxiety rules, and so that's gone. The factory does the heavy lifting. And now the things that are difficult, I have time for though. And I'm twiddling my thumbs now, which actually created another phenomenon. As I was telling you that our Odell Construction side created your favorite neighbor concept, where now we're like, okay, because guys go to the city and they get a business license, they got laid off from a production home. Now, it's not that they don't know what they're doing, but they don't know how to manage a job. And they don't know the building concepts. They know how to be told, here's the plans, follow those plans, get it done. That's your lane. Building is completely different, especially design and build, right? Which all these second and third generation homes are all design and build, right? People are like, I want to move that wall. I want to, remodel this bathroom. And they don't understand the arc fault rule, right?
Yeah.
And they're like running all this new wire. They go, oh yeah, I can, run new wire. And they're just doing it on basic breakers. And
they watch a couple hours of HGTV.
Or
and
YouTube,
they got it.
Or YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And YouTube builders, right? And I walk into a home and know if it was done by a YouTube builder like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the influencer either. I'm talking about the guy watching it.
Yeah.
And so, but the things that are not safe. And I always tell people, look, the reason you got a cheaper price is because that's only a quarter of what it's going to cost you to fix it. So go into it like that. Say, sure, this guy's half my price because I have insurances to protect you.
Yeah.
Like I'm a legit guy and it's expensive to be legit, especially in California.
Yeah.
Right. It's made it almost impossible. So what we did was we started diving into these smaller projects, bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, alterations and additions, things like that. But that's about as big as I'll go now on the stick boat world. But what I'm doing is I'm bringing back the faith of the community. And that is everything. Because that translates into all of us in the trades because the communities are bread and butter. But when people call me and they go, wow, I saw your social media stuff because I do a lot of videos and I do videos on, yes, DIY, but call a pro, right? Because I want to teach you the nomenclature. I want to give you how to discuss how to get a good deal and the right deal. But I also want to turn you into a rational client because I have irrational clients that go, well, I want this outcome, but I only pay half for it. Well, guess what? That's impossible because nobody's going to do your job for free. If they tell you are, look close because they're not, right? And so if you're living inside something you've paid for, make sure you paid the right price.
Sound advice,
right? And it does translate over time. It just does. And also, if you expect to take advantage of the equity market, how can you sell a product you can't stand behind? When you're selling the house, do you tell that new owner, oh yeah, I got this guy in the Home Depot parking lot. He didn't really have a license.
Yeah.
But he wired the whole house.
Like, hey, when you go up to the second story, don't jump.
Right. Or you know what? Lean to the right. Yeah. And then you'll feel normal.
Yeah.
And so, but it's true. But no one's telling the new buyer that. They're going, this home's great, blah, blah, blah. But the truth of the matter is, full disclosure, yeah, I saved money while doing it.
Well, and that's one of the things, like, I was kind of grateful that we had what I thought was our real estate person is a family friend. They're kind of honest. And so was the inspector. And so were the people that were living here.
Yeah.
And we moved in, or we were looking at the house and they're like, just to let you know, it's going to need a new roof.
Right.
Whole thing.
Yeah.
So right off the bat. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we know what we're going into. We know what we're getting into. We know we're going to have to drop like 20. Well, luckily it was only 17 grand, like 30-year warranty on it. It was a great deal.
Yeah.
Good, cool roof and everything. But you got to be up front.
Yeah.
Because that imagine being in that position where you have to now live in an unsafe house.
Very much true.
Yeah. Because you can't afford to fix it.
Right. And raise a family in it.
Yeah.
I mean, most people are, buying a home to raise a family. Right. And people say like, well, that's why I want a condominium. Okay. Let me give you a little advice on a condominium. An HOA is managing everything. And until they don't have money, they don't tell you.
Yeah.
And then they have an adjustment. And you're writing a $12,000 check like that because a whole condominium needs a new roof. Okay, that's a $200 unit, right?
Yeah.
So people are like, that can happen? I'm like, that can totally happen and probably will happen, right? So you're never free of it. The buck's going to stop with you.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if I used condominiums, I wouldn't have any kids.
Well, and that's the other thing is that, do you really want to have a party wall?
Yeah.
And there's probably a party.
Well, it's either the party wall on your end or on their end. You're either annoyed by it or the one annoying them. It's
Absolutely.
Like, and so, yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons we bought this house because it was such a big yard and you meet the neighbors when you move in or when you are about to move in, like that kind of thing. It's,
I mean, if you think about it, going back in time, communities are based on living around each other.
Right.
And, respect and admiration and community. I mean, these are the number one rules of, society is a base, right? And if you take everything and you boil it all the way down, you say, okay, great. I want to own a home because I believe that gives me, I'm adulting, right? Sure. But now you have a huge responsibility and people don't even know their neighbors anymore. Like, or they don't understand, how many parks are in our development. What is, can I walk my dog? Can my kid walk my dog? We live in an area in Woodland.
Yeah.
And the reason we bought that area was because it's a gated community. It's out of town. And we grew up in impacted areas. And I have high energy kids and they go to this amazing Christian school that we really love. And, but they got the attention that they needed.
Yeah.
Which was super important. We just had the byproduct of living next to cows now. I mean, some of my friends.
You get used to the smell.
Right? Kind of. I couldn't sleep for the first 8 months.
Oh, really?
Because I didn't realize how ingrained in my head trains, planes, and automobiles were. And a friend of mine gave me an app called City Noise. And I slept like a baby.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And like my friends come up from the Bay Area to visit our house and they're driving down and they're like, dude, I saw cows and sheep and you're telling me there's a golf course here somewhere, and then out of nowhere, a golf course drops out of the sky, right?
Yeah.
And but my kids, they go ride their bikes. They have a good time, and I'm not worried about them.
Well, that's one of the things that we kind of discovered or rediscovered during COVID, right?
Right.
Because now you're only as good as the people around you. Like
Right.
if you we had chickens and stuff, so like our neighbors, they get eggs.
Right.
And like they have a garden, so we get that stuff, or like it's things like that. That's the way that you help each other out. You can't rely on people that are even across the state,
Right.
Let alone across the world.
Right.
And so everything take care of what's in your just little court, or it's not a court, but like cul-de-sac thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the immediate area.
Your sphere of influence, right? Mm-hmm. And again, that is the basis of community. Mm-hmm. And so like I love the FF&A culture, right? Which is like I forgot what it stands for, city kid. But my daughter's big in it, and she loves, I don't know that she would have ever, played the level of sports that she plays now because we live in a baseball, town. And so, Dustin Pedroia's from Woodland. And he put Woodland on the map, right?
Yeah.
And so, we are further involved now in our community than we ever probably would have been, still living in the Bay Area. And I still work in the Bay Area and I can't wait to leave.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd never leave. I thought the world wasn't bigger than San Francisco growing up. Why would I ever leave here?
You miss the weather though.
Boy, do I.
Yeah. That 50
Especially
to
in the
80,
summer.
that's it.
Holy smokes.
Over here, it's 30 to
100
120.
miles makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness. Right. It's like, I think there's a bubble over it.
That's one of the hardest things to get used to. We moved out here. I couldn't. I was an angry person that first year.
Yes.
We had to deal with like 110, 115.
Yes. Well, my wife she grew up in Pacifica and she was pregnant with my son when we moved to Woodland. And it was 110, I think, that season. And our first month electric bill was, $1,500.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work.
Right.
So now I got 40 panels on my ceiling, right?
Oh, okay.
On my roof. So, but that's the other thing, excuse me, is, also going into understanding environments and levels of energy and efficiency, because now if you see what's going on in the East Coast, one of the biggest worries they have is the stress of the grid. And it's both weather related and use related.
Oh yeah. Because it's really old too. It's a lot older out there.
And they're talking about, possibly a whole entire, substation going down. And people don't realize, going back to what you had said earlier, you have chickens, so you understand how to get an egg, right? Well, people that go to the store and buy eggs think they just end up in the store.
Yeah.
They don't realize that it actually starts in a farm somewhere.
And they're
right?
covered in poop usually.
All the time.
Right?
and they're dirty. And
kind of gross.
It's all those things. But I think, getting away from, like my daughter says, I understand now where food comes from. Right. And I'm like, yeah, me too now. Like we have neighbors that raise pigs.
Oh yeah.
And they're raising them in this complete relationship dynamic. And I'm like, what happens to the pig?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, about that. We're going to sell them to the person that's going to dot line and say, their food.
So you sell them to the butcher. Yeah. Okay.
Sell them to the butcher, right? And actually, most of the people, the butchers aren't going to buy them. The butchers are going to be the person they're going to hire by the people that buy them, right? And 3 or 4 people will go and I'll take that guy and we're going to quarter him up and, but this kid has raised this pig and showed this pig and won awards with this pig and probably named the pig. That understanding of what it's actually for, though, is so maturing. Like every kid that I've met that does this, I'm so impressed by. I mean, they're going to be business owners. They're going to be CEOs. They're going to run this country, and I believe that, that comes from understanding things from its origin.
Right.
And again, getting back to building. The origin of building is we are creating a space for you to be safe. Safe from what? Environment, nature, all the things that kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it has its issues, right? And, falling back into, the understanding of, different people that do different things. And then we say, okay, the volumetric world came back and we stuck them all into a factory. And now everybody says, hey, Bob, hey, Frank. And they go to work and they build your house.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get a chance to see that whole thing come together. And then you're like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. Right. And then I'm like, great, call me in 20 years because the thing still looks the same.
Yeah.
And they're like, I know. And so I think what we're at the ground floor of, like we were talking about the affordable housing. Pardon me. We were talking about the affordable housing dynamic and basically California saying, okay, the powers to be say, well, it's all your problem, cities. You guys figure it out, right? Okay, great. We have no idea what we're doing, right? Yeah. But we're going to basically say the first thing we're going to do, California, rubber stamp ADUs, right? Accessible dwelling units. Because we believe that we know you're not going to rent that to homeless people. We know that. But what you will do is you'll create inventory. And when you create inventory, what happens? Supply and demand. You're going to drive the price of rents down because now people have a choice, right? Okay, great. Homeless people kind of want to be homeless though.
Yeah. I've noticed I heard about this. There was an experiment not that long ago where it was like, there was like this fenced off area and you had to be clean to go in and you'd get like food and shelter and everything like that.
Sure.
But they just lived right on the outside of it.
That's right. They congregate.
Yeah.
They go to those areas. And it's funny because, it's ironic, that the places that they do these things are in subculture environments. You're not going to have it in the high rise areas of the, people with nice clothes. We call them the nice clothes people, right? They don't want to see this. They don't want it in their backyard. So what do? They say, great, we appreciate, we'll donate to your clinic or your, resource center or whatever, but we want it over there. We want it to live in the environment where they're used to. So it's closest to the railroad tracks, right? That's the idea of it all, right? Well, what happens is that does something to the psyche of a person. It says basically this is where you belong. And how do you change anything with thinking that, okay, the only place I can get help is a place that I can exist, right? I think they should be able to walk into a corporate building and there should be a function in that corporate building that says, no, come on in here. It's safe. It's a good environment. Take a shower, right? Make this your space for 10 minutes, right? Feel normal. Normal's a bad word.
Join society.
Yes.
Again.
Or at least be a product of your own environment, right? This is not what you have to do. Now, mental health is a thing. And some people, they just need different services and different help, right? It's not their fault. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So when we started kind of creating, I had this other concept where I was working with a culture that the custodial culture, like people in jails and prisons and different things like that, because they're people too. And they were born in these environments. The things that they did, some people chose to live that way. I've met plenty of those, believe me. But in most of my outreach, I always found that every story was the same. They were born toxic-positive. They were environments where their parents were selling, illicit and different things like that. This was their normal. Like it was weird not to, right? Police are bad, right? Different things like that in our environment. And they don't go outside their environment because to them, that's safe. Right. Now, I grew up in the Bayview. I grew up in a place in San Francisco behind Candlestick, right? By the time I got there, it was a different place than of my grandparents and my parents. And so during that environment, it was a very hard environment. And I got to see things firsthand, right? So I understand what it means to be born into an environment that you think is totally normal. And unless you reach out and go, I think there's something else going on, right? And you go to college or you go into a trade school or you do something and you start meeting people from other dynamics or other cultures, you go, holy smokes, boy, did we have it wrong, right? And so so I started this outreach and we started building homes for people to when they would, I call it graduating. The actual word is paroled. But, terms are important.
Yeah.
And if you want to start something good, find a better way to call it what it is, right? And going to an environment where you're going to learn a trade, no one wants to go back to prison getting out.
Right.
Nobody does. And so I'm like, look, construction is one of the things that you can reinvent yourself in.
You can get right into it.
Right into it. And you could be great. You're probably already amazing because you had to be crafty in that little 4x6 you were living in anyways, right?
Yeah.
And so
making wine out of the toilet, that's innovative itself.
Absolutely. And it worked.
Yeah.
And so I was, and I had a lot of these people that were like starting to want to come and sign up. And they were like, and this is kind of like where you take the affordable housing concept, right? Teach a guy to fish or feed him forever, right? So I don't want to give you $200 and say, here's a hotel room and do your best because I know what you're going to do with that.
Because then what about the next day?
Right. Or what are you going to create to keep that going? Right. Well, you're going to give right back to the environment you came from. So we had them go to this concept of sober living, creating this environment where you do your job, your lane, you make your bed, you get up, your turn to cook breakfast, make sure the garbage take family dynamics, right? Things that they don't know. Well, one of the things I started doing is I combined forces with a Center for Disabled Independent Living. And they were a state-funded organization that if you became disabled later in life or at some point in your life, your house was not accessible. I had so many people trapped in their houses because like MS and different things. They had stairs. They couldn't get out.
Jeez.
And so, but they had no money. And so there were no services. So this company was born and they would get funds and then they would hire us. So I took these guys who were changing their lives and saying, we're going to go build wheelchair ramps for people in East Palo Alto, right? Completely polar opposite worlds, but from the same environment, right? We started building wheelchair ramps for people. And one quick story, I had these guys, and these guys were super convicts. They were tattoos and, you'll cross the street when you see these guys. And we're building wheelchair ramps because you got to start somewhere. Basic framing, basic angles, understanding, egress, different things like that. And these guys were getting these huge educations, but also they were getting a dynamic that I didn't even realize. This one story, we were building this lady who had gotten muscular dystrophy and she was like 40 something years old.
Oh man.
For 3 years, she was trapped in her house. 3 years. And it was horrible. And these guys were building this ramp. Oh, we're going to go ahead and we're going to build this ramp. We're so happy about it. And then I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, we're going to go to an environment you normally wouldn't be in. You wouldn't normally go to East Palo Alto, right? Okay. They're like, yeah, we would. Okay, great. So we go, we start building the ramp and they start realizing what's happening here. They're like, we're going to get her out. And I'm like, you're going to get her out. Right. And we start, and it was a huge ramp. I mean, it took us like a week and of working very fast. And as soon as they put the last board down, this lady came flying out in her wheelchair, down the ramp, down the street yelling, I'm free.
What?
Oh man, it was cool. It's even hard not to cry right now.
Damn.
And these guys were crying. Like 6'5" guys, big old lightning bolts on there. And they're crying. And they're like, that was the greatest thing I've ever done. And I was like, but do you see how it all intersects? I said, look, man, I said, any guy could put a couple pieces of wood together. Why are you doing it? What does it mean? You create something with your hands, right? Go to work every single day, man. Put on your boots. And at the end of the day, yeah, you're dog tired and beat, man, but it meant something, right? And so, you know, getting back to the affordable housing thing, that's our dynamic in creating these things. And I'm trying to talk to different people within the Sacramento regions, and because it's rampant, you know, in the Bay Area, they don't really want to listen at all.
Yeah.
But they're so overbuilt. You know, what are they going to do? You know, unless you can build one that floats, right? So I'm like, all right, great. Let me go where land is vast, right? Let me go to an area where there's plenty of space, right? And so we're finally starting to get some people to listen. And I'm like, look, not only is our ability of building, the rate of building, a third of the time, guaranteed. What takes 4 years takes me 9 months. Right? Documented, guaranteed. I'm also building it at a better price per square foot. Why is that? Because I don't have a guy charge me $280 an hour who's barely going to show up.
Right, because somebody else is offering to hire him too for maybe $250.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And he's taking those jobs, right? Even though his bandwidth isn't there.
Right.
Right? Because he's not growing as a company. He's trying to keep as much as he can because he's scared.
Yeah.
He's like, the bottom's going to fall out any moment. Pretty soon there's going to be no work. I know it's coming. So what am I going to do? I'm going to try and keep as much of that pie as possible, right? I'm going to do that on the backs of homeowners. It's just horrible. So, you know, bringing our concept, and I'm not trying to take the steak or food off anybody's plate. I'm trying to find a way to feed people. And I think that if we create a better environment of building, we're going to create better builders, right? And then it'll be abundant. We'll be doing nothing but building, right? And so, but getting back to the affordable housing thing, we're still rolling there. I really think that once over the next 2 years, my plan is to have at least 2 to 3 affordable housing projects in Sacramento built that I can showcase and I can tell people it's real. You can feel, touch, and smell, right? And I think once people get over the hump, and that's the other thing, I have 5 models of ADUs already built. They're already being pre-approved at the city level. So now you can walk into the city and go, hi, I want that one. Pay your permit fee. Planning's already done. All we got to do is do our site work, right? Do our site work permit, which is going to only take a few weeks. I can have cash to keys within a couple months. I mean, from application to keys, right? And so
you can't even really move out that fast, you know?
Right. And so the other thing is that these things offset people's mortgage. You get an ADU. Now you're getting $1,500 a month, right? That's now offsetting your mortgage. Or you just dump it right on. Now you're paying $15 a month of pure principal. Do the math. You got 30-year, became a 20-year at the same rate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I can go on and on. Right. And so, but the reason we're bringing this is because it's hard to get people over the hump, you know, because they're like, well, it's modular. I'm like, no, it's offsite. Modular is a thing of my grandparents.
Yeah.
Okay. What we do is we do superior offsite building, right? And I just need someone to take a risk, right? Yeah. And so we're trying to get that first one done up here in Sacramento. We have plenty of them in the Bay Area. We have plenty of them down south, and we have them in other states. But I do believe that Sacramento is going to be the leading place for, you know, not only affordable housing, but, you know, home ownership, right? I think they can lead the way, because they're in a perfect opportunity for it.
Well, and Sacramento is kind of a perfect area to do that too, because first you have the land,
right?
More than the Bay Area, at least.
Right.
You have an extreme homeless problem here.
Yes.
And you have, I mean, it makes sense, right? Well, also there's not a lot of water that you have to worry about, you know, as far as like ruining the house or whatever. But it seems like it's a logical area to start with.
It really is. And, you know, even the understanding of utility and, you know, service and different things like that, you know, there's ways to deal with that. But here's the thing. If I'm creating an environment that builds at a strategic pace, there is no variable. In fact, once you agree that this is what we're building, you can't change it. Right. There are no change orders. We have erased change orders. Because the thing, once they go into production, that is what's happening.
Yeah, there's no surprises then.
There's none.
Yeah.
All the headaches are done in the first few months. And that's actually my favorite part about volumetric building is that in the planning stage, we're dealing with everything. And the cities like it because they're like, so we're kind of off the hook. Yeah, because it's state approved. Everybody answers building code to the state. Well, HCD is our building code. So the state comes and then specs our building. When it leaves the factory, it's already a Californian. It has to meet all of the codes for California. The city doesn't have any building jurisdiction outside the site work.
So all they do is need to visit your factory, and that's it.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We educate them. We'll Zoom call them. My partner, Jason, has actually put inspectors on a bus and sent them all, but they love it.
Yeah.
Because
little field trip. And they get to know what's in the walls. They have complete confidence, right? And so now you get building inspectors going, oh, great, man. I'm happy that this is a volumetric build. I know these guys. I know they build really well. They're going to come out and talk shop. Yeah.
They're not going to be like, what's this guy trying to get away with? Because that, the hide and go seek game of inspector to builder is always one of my favorite dynamics, right? Because you got a guy who's like trying to hide something so the inspector doesn't see it and they're creating diversions. Oh, look, shiny over here. And so, or here's some Giants tickets, right? That's the old one. And I'm like, yeah, there's none of that now. We've just gotten back to saying it is exactly what it is. And let's get on to the next one, right? And I think that is the age of the future of building. And like I said, we're talking to people who believe in what we do. And I think this year is going to be a big year for us in this region. I really do. I'm starting to have like a lot of really good connective meetings. I'll do a presentation anywhere. So now people are like, okay, great. So you have command of the English language, you know how to talk, and you can build. Let's do this, right? So, and again, moving up to Woodland 8 years ago, I didn't know was something that was going to be super important.
I want to take a look at some of the some of the examples that you sent me because I mentioned this earlier, but I was very surprised.
Sure.
That they actually look like a house.
They do.
Rather than grandma's double wide, right?
And right.
It doesn't look like those portables that I had to learn in elementary school, Right. All right. So this one here. Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah.
Holy
crap. This is an
crap.
amazing concept.
Is that in Maui?
No, this one was actually built in Florida. This is a concept. This particular model that I'm showing you is actually a rendering of that concept. But that was his beginning rendering. But this thing can be built anywhere. And this is kind of more of the approach to the modern, two-story look where you can, put it on a, 12,000 square foot lot in the Palisades, or you could put it somewhere in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Right. But one of my favorite parts about this particular project is the glazing or the windows, because natural light is the best form of concept.
Sure.
And, because we're able to create this in a factory, we drew it and then built it. Right. And so, and the other thing is that you'll notice that if we put the garages in the back there, it became its own structure. Right. And then we decked the top of it. Right? Usable space.
Yeah.
And so...
that's it. Yeah, that is a deck up there. How cool is that?
Absolutely. So now you've got a multi-view, right? So we took a space where the garage is facing towards the inland, right? Because you notice you've got the water in that end, because we got two concept of view here, right? We got the billion-dollar view of the Pacific, or the Atlantic in that case, and you got the kind of forest and rural in the back. So you can literally go to the beach or go to the nature.
Yeah.
Right. And we created those environments by utilizing a site-built garage. So in this case, what we would do is we would truck in the modules which create the house and then site-build the garage. And so also creating kind of more of an easement of use. Right. So now we've created kind of like, and you'll notice in the front, you got the pool in the front there.
Oh, yeah.
Right, there should be a couple more views of it if you scroll through.
Let's see.
Did I send you all of them?
Looks like that was one.
Okay. I sent you a few. I was hoping... Oh yeah, that's the other build.
Look at that.
Okay, so now this again is another Florida concept. This one is kind of more of the colonial but modern, right? Or kind of like what we call today's modern, right? So you still got the pitch roof, you still got the I call it multi-character, right? It's not a box. It's not four corners. You got a lot of contour, right? But my favorite part about it is that you have great curb appeal. This is a setback house, probably has got a 1/4-mile driveway, that kind of thing. Or it could sit right on a standard 20-foot setback, right? And the other thing is that if you notice the doors, those are 10-foot doors. And so you get that high value at an affordable cost.
Right. I mean, that looks like, that looks like a classic house you'd pull up for like a LA lawyer.
Or Beverly Hills, that kind of
like
idea,
that.
right? Rodeo Drive, right? But if you look at the next picture, I did send you one more of the rear. There you go.
Wow, it looks like a ship.
It does. Then we call it the cruise ship. And
oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I do. And so one of the things that we liked about this the most is that you kind of have now sectioned off versions of this house, right? You have a whole entire entertainment section. You have a whole entire area where the house is literally separated from your living space, right? But, those are like 6 modules, right? And they're all stitched and set together. And so, but what a lot of people don't realize is, well, okay, how is that put together like that? Well, in setting, and having a good set crew is so important because this is a whole new culture of trade. When these modules come in, they all have their own walls. Whereas if you've built a house, you know that an interior wall has 2 functions. It's the wall of each room. It's one wall serving 2 rooms. Well, when a module comes in, it all has its own walls. Well, now you've got a 8 to 12 inch thick wall when those things are married together. Right. The married line, right? So when they're married together, you create this huge, gigantic finish concept, which I really dig. And a lot of the older style architecture where the plantation houses in the South, Georgia building, I like to call it, where they don't do sheetrock. It's all paneled. It's all wainscoting, right? It's all different levels of different materials instead of drywall. But you have these really thick columns. You have these really thick walls, right? So we kind of brought that back. So when you walk into a modular home, that's the only difference, is the walls are thicker, but you have greater insulation. Right. So now you don't hear a person taking a shower from the bedroom. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so you can be watching the TV in the front room and sleeping in the master or guest bedroom, and the decibels are very low. So we found a way to take what would some people will say, well, that's kind of joined together. Great opportunity for insulation, noise barriers, right? And so in this concept here, we really were able to do that because you'll notice that whole entire area where we have the decking, we have the pool, but the decking also created a kind of cabana look, right? But also the access with the stairs where you can access the front of the house from the back of the house, but you don't have to. And that's one of my favorite concepts there. We really like this thing a lot. This is one we're actually trying to create in the Palisades. We actually have 2 opportunities right now that we're looking at, and it all comes down to money. Sure. It all comes down to money. Yeah. And so we're going to spec build it. We're looking to acquire probably about 3 lots. We're working with the Christie's team that actually lives in the Palisades. They're actually part of the community. And I believe one of them even lost their own homes. And so, they're heavily involved in our volumetric building. And so probably, maybe, hopefully by Q2, Q3, we might have this thing in production.
Wow, that's
so
quick.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Yeah. That's a stick build I did in San Mateo, California.
Oh, okay.
This was a 3rd generation, 70-year-old home. And the reason I use this is because this is one of the concepts I use for our ADUs. We have an ADU right now that's already built. It's already designed. It can be ordered tomorrow. And it has that same look, that kind of great room approach. And you'll notice there, the 2 columns, that was actually a bedroom.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So The problem was that I could not get that to be a great room. I could not take that bedroom and create an open space without those columns because the way the pitch of the roof was not going to allow me an LVL, which is a laminated support beam.
Oh, like the big beams that they put if they take out a column. Yeah.
Glue Lam, Paralam, Versalam. Those are all wood products that are strong as steel, but half the weight. And very typical in the great room conversions, where you're taking out walls. These are the things that you use.
Yeah, I always see that on HGTV. They're always putting the beam in.
All the time.
Always the beams in. I want to open it up.
Yeah.
Got to put the beam in.
Got to put an LVL in.
Yep.
And now you have flush mount or surface mount, right? And a surface mount is a header, right? When you walk into a doorway, you have a header. Or if you ever seen an open room and it's got that one part of the ceiling that's got a drop in it.
Yeah.
That's the beam, right? We like to do the attic mounts where it's in the attic and the joists actually run to it and hang off engineering Simpson ties. And so now that's what I did there. I actually ran one where the refrigerator is.
Oh.
I ran one all the way to the front door to the right. You really can't see. You can see the corner of the wall right there. Well, that's 32 feet. That was a 32-foot LVL beam. And that thing was six inches wide and 18 inches tall. And that was the engineered production. But in order to take that bedroom, I had to create a column there. So I had this idea. I said, okay, we're going to put a little bit of the old school Rome in there, right? And that black granite there, you see that little where the columns touch? You see the two columns?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So actually a support column runs from a beam through those columns, through the black granite, through the cabinet, into the crawl space, onto a footing.
Huh.
And so that's how we were able to accomplish that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so now I took that same concept and put that and built it in a factory, which we don't have to do those columns anymore. We don't have to do the columns now. So the reason I like this picture is because I can create the same concept in a third of the time. That took me 2 years. It took 2 years to tear that thing apart and add a bedroom.
It's very, you've simplified it.
I did. Totally simplified and sped it up. But the quality did not get did not suffer at all. Yes, and this is kind of like an overview. And this is something my partner Jason Carter created from the Mod Squad team. He was also my partner in Ironclad. It kind of runs through, what are we doing here, right? And so, and you talk a little bit here, it talks a little bit about when modular was created in the building aspect past the double wide, right?
Right.
How can we make buildings out of this stuff? It was so repetitive. You just kept rinse and repeat. And there was no personality to it. Well, in our world now, and with Jason re-automating factories and creating these new line cuts and these amazing automation opportunities, we're now able to create these really cool concepts that, you can't tell it's modular unless we told you, right? And that's one of the things we're really trying to get to, is a place where, remember the Pepsi test? Blindfold Pepsi test. Well, I want to do the same thing in real estate. I want to get 3 houses or 4 houses with one stick built and the other modulars. You got to find the stick built.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm going to get there.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. And so, it has to be a production community, right?
Right.
I got to find a nice lot to do it on.
Yeah.
But I thought it'd be so cool. And so these are different, like New York. These are heavy in the East Coast because Jason's in Florida. But these are all projects in New York, Templetown. Okay, this was a build out. This was a student build out, right? That was 80,000 square foot, 5-story building.
For a college?
Yep, for Templetown. And so, and now they're actually doing it in Cal Poly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're creating, I think, 3,700 new dorms and I believe an R&D building of some level. Maybe it's not R&D, but it's also some utility building. But anyways, this one's in Brooklyn. And you see just the level of building. Like that is not what you would expect out of modular.
No, I mean, that's a building. That's not a house. That's a building. That's a building.
That's what we do. Jeez. That's actually what we do. Luxury homes are our simplest versions.
Yeah.
Those are our simplest versions. That's actually where we cut our teeth. That's what we really like. And so when you look at, if you're familiar with Jenga, you're familiar with modular building.
Well, my friend, actually a friend of mine, now he took it a different way, but so he bought some land in Arkansas and he's doing modular building, but just with the shipping containers, you know, so 3 shipping containers. Definitely not the same.
Yes.
But a similar concept to building like this.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys take it multiple steps.
So we have an ADU company. We have an ADU factory in Boulder, Colorado. I think it's in Boulder. It's in Colorado that does the shipping containers and we build ADUs out of shipping containers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a market that we dwell in too. Yep. So, so you kind of see, I mean, just the amazing amount of opportunity that we do. I mean, we'll blow your mind.
That looks like something you'd see in like Dubai, where they have nothing but money.
Yeah.
And servants.
My partner Jason has been in the DR for some time. He's actually on the panel to rebuild Ukraine. Oh yeah. No, there's the concept of our building. It's endless. You know, where we get to go to. Given the opportunity, we want the challenge. Bring it to us, man. Give us your craziest situation. And we're going to find a way to do it in not only a rapid pace, but an affordability.
Yeah.
And that's, again, when you discover plutonium by mistake, but don't realize it's plutonium or you can't believe it's plutonium. That's the only way I can put this right now. That's where we're at in this moment, right? We're like, okay, man, we've got this amazing thing. Just got to get across the bridge.
Yeah. You're
going to have to trust somebody, right?
Wow.
So, yeah. And then I think I sent you one more. It was actually really cool too. If you could see it.
Right here.
Let's see, where is it? Yeah, so this is one we're actually doing in, not this, this was one of the concepts. We're actually building a coastal home in Moss Beach.
Oh, really?
Yes. And that's the one right there. There it is there. That's the one we settled on. And it's this really cool beach style. I don't have a rendering yet, but this is basically the elevation plans that aren't ever cute. But you see its concept. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And we're going to build this thing in 7 months. And it's a 2,500 square foot, 2-story home on a 5,000 square foot lot. And we're going to build it extremely aggressive. And it's going to go up really fast. And it's going to totally match the community that we're going to plan it in.
Man.
And it's a total coastal community. So Jason and I decided to create a subsidiary of Ironclad called Ocean View Luxury Homes. And they're going to be coastal homes only.
Ballin'.
Yeah. Because, coastal homes carry their own different needs.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that was when we were in. Let's see this one.
And that was one that was actually built in Mirren. This is another amazing, this was a hybrid. It was both stick and modular, but you'll notice the slope and the, amount of retaining walls needed, but you see the brickwork that, was done. And this was a creation that was just magical.
You guys don't have any like limits of what you can build there.
There are none. No. We have limitations, but not limits, right? So we always have to figure out, okay, how do they stack? They got to get stitched together in a proper way.
Yeah.
What kind of cladding is going to go over them? We really like this is the other concept we were doing. This is the one I was telling you about in the peninsula that was almost impossible to build. This is the kind of the finished package and the color palettes. But I mean, that's like trazatone. I mean, look at this, 18-foot walls. If you go down a little, there you go. That's an 18-foot wall.
Wow.
Yeah. It actually had a butler kitchen.
Oh,
we brought back the butler kitchen, right? So you just see the concept of this thing is just so amazing. A lot of glazing.
Yeah.
Corner fireplaces. This thing is just going to be a spectacular build.
Yeah. Also like another thing that when you mentioned what you do and everything, I also kind of thought like the Tiny House Nation show and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But that's all like, it makes what you're doing makes that seem like a real gimmick. It's just a gimmick and people can live there.
Yeah.
But eventually you're going to get tired of that because it's just
absolutely
you're stacking things on things and it's on wheels.
It's density living.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Yeah.
Because there's a thing, invite your friends over sometime. And then you're like, oh, maybe I need all that.
Yeah. Like, I don't, like, if you don't host parties, you know?
Kind of homeless. You know what I mean? It's, step up from a porta potty. You know?
Yeah.
It really is,
Yeah.
you know? And so that's the other thing is that, we don't like the mobile approach. Not for us, and look, if it does serve a community and it gets people out of the rain, great. If it gives people a step up and get them to a place where they say, wow, I can have this too, then, I'm fine with that. Sure. That's just not our style. We want to get to a place where we're like, no, let's put you in a house you can raise your family in for 50 years.
Yeah.
Right. Let's do that. Okay. And the size of it is not important. It's functionality is everything. And that's where we really come into play. We could take that density idea on, creating more structures on smaller areas. But with the concept of it still having some personality, right? It's a beautiful little home, not a tiny home.
Do you,
right?
So for people like me, do you have like what kind of options for the garage do you have? Like, is 2-car the most we could get?
No. I can do you a 4-car garage. I mean, look, if you got the money,
yeah, well,
I'll build it. I'll tell you that.
I was trying to save up.
Yeah, but that's the other thing is that most of the things that we do translate into a savings that can be reapplied. So some people I like the culture of Woof and Sub-Zero, and okay, great, you can have those things because of the fact you're not paying that $700 to $800 a square foot. Maybe you're only paying the $4 to $5 now, right, for a luxury home, right? And you're building it in a faster pace. Therefore, you don't have the holding costs, right? And anytime you ever want to build something, margins are extremely important because you're saying, okay, if I have X amount of dollars, that means I have X amount of time, right? Because one does support the other. And hiccups cost money. They just do, right? And the other thing is, you don't want to find out something's impossible to build midway. Right? Or you don't want to find out that the guy isn't as experienced. I can't tell you how many projects I've picked up where people have called me in distress and they're like, we're out of money. This thing's framed. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, it's just framed and we're out of money. And I'm like, that's impossible. Did somebody go to Vegas? Like, what happened there? No, this guy was just inexperienced. He showed great, showed us some pictures of stuff. I told people, look, Pinterest, nobody puts anything on Pinterest that's actual. It's all photoshopped, man. Right? And so,
or it's AI now.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is that, look, if something is spectacular and too good to be true, it probably is.
Sure.
Right. And so, but for us, it's actually real because of the fact that we're going to tell you in the front end, no, you can't do that. And this is why.
Do you, so this may be a stupid question, but do you have the ability, like if somebody has a house already, would you be able to add on to it?
Yes.
With this?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Oh, absolutely. We do attached ADUs. We do additions. I had a client in Belmont, California, which is just, that whole hill's built.
Yeah.
And she had, the way the house was built, they had already finished out the garage basement area with, 6'7" ceilings. And I'm like, that's not a code living area.
6'7" ceilings?
Yes. You cannot do that.
Kind of tight.
Not only tight, it's not livable.
Yeah.
It's by code nor by living, and so, I mean, would you have 5-foot doors?
Yeah.
And
the hobbits live there.
Right. Absolutely. And so she had an architect and engineer come in, and the only thing they were able to do to give her the addition she wanted was to create a step so that they could get the actual 8-foot required or 7-foot required in the addition, right? Either that or they're going to have to dig down, which you start excavating. Now you're going into A license stuff. You're going into shoring and all kinds of different concepts, right? So she brought the plans to me and she goes, can you build it? I said, I don't want to build it because it's ugly. You're going to hate it because I know what it's going to look like. You don't. And I said, show me a rendering. She goes, I don't have any. I go, why do you think you don't have any? Because the person that designed this knew it was ugly and you were going to hate it. So basically you now have a step going through your kitchen. To step into what? You're stepping into a bedroom. I said, if you have a senior parent, all of a sudden these are trip hazards. These are things, right? I said, I don't want to build that. She said, so you just can't do it? I said, no, I can, but I could do it in modular. And so she said, tell me more. So I did. I had the factory architect and the engineer put together a concept that would literally clip on a module unit that would be craned in and clipped on and then site built in the connection. And what we were able to do is we were able to get rid of that step because of the fact that we were able to split the ceiling heights of both and create a level floor on top and push it out far enough where the setback still worked because we were able to call it a ADU unit. Well, if you are within 1,200 square feet or less in California, you're no longer, the zoning law don't apply. You get up to 4-foot setbacks.
Oh yeah. We ran into that when we built my wife's shed.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if you're doing an additional structure, an addition, shed over 120 square feet, right? You're now being subjected to zoning laws, 15-foot backyards, right? Can't do it. But if you live in the ADU environment, you now get 4-foot setbacks.
There you go.
And there's an addition that solved all the problems. So we're able to kind of spread it out a little more and create, kind of more of an environment of building that solve like 5 problems.
Right.
Right. And so kind of a long-winded answer to your question.
So before we go, can you tell people where they can find you and how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah. So we have on my website, chrisodellconstruction.com. You could also find us on Instagram and YouTube under Your Favorite Neighbor. And we also have Ironclad Construction, which is purely volumetric and modular building. That site will be coming probably in the next few weeks. And then, but you'll be able to find that at chrisodellconstruction.com. You'll be able to find that, that link to click onto. And then, under Your Favorite Neighbor, you're going to start seeing a lot of new concepts coming under modular building, volumetric building. We're going to storyboard the Palisades, rebuilding the Palisades and, like our Moss Beach project. So, come find us under Your Favorite Neighbor and watch us build. And also our ADU concepts you can find on there. And you can always, email me, call me, send me a pigeon. We're community builders. We love the community. It's our bread and butter.
Good deal. All right. Well, Chris, thanks for coming by.
Appreciate
it.
Yeah, it's a great time.
And we'll do this again.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Take care, guys.